Okay, so we're going to talk about a disease that's been with us for, well, millennia. It's shaped fashion, it's started wars, it's even helped build nations. And here's the crazy part. Even though we've been able to cure it for over 70 years, it is, once again, our planet's deadliest infection. And this quote, it just nails the heart of the whole thing. We're a species that can do incredible things, right? We can reshape the entire planet. And yet, we're still so often powerless against the most basic kinds of suffering. That paradox, right there, well, that's the story of tuberculosis. To really wrap our heads around a story this huge, we've got to start small. We have to ground this in a single life, because that's where you see the real cost of a disease like this.
So, I want you to meet Henry. I met this boy at a hospital in Sierra Leone. He had this amazing energy, a huge, goofy smile. The second he saw me, he just grabbed my hand and started giving me a tour of the place. And you look at him and think, okay, he's a little kid, maybe 9, 10 years old at most. He had these really spindly legs, and he was wearing this oversized shirt that came down almost to his knees. Just a super charming, talkative little boy. Except he wasn't a little boy. Henry was 17. A whole lifetime of not having enough food, combined with years of fighting tuberculosis, had just stunted his growth. It had wasted his body away. And that right there shows you the stakes. TB isn't just a cough, it's a thief. It steals years, it steals growth, it steals a person's future. All right, so now let's zoom out from that one deeply personal story to some shockingly huge historical moments. Because the story of tuberculosis is woven into our world in ways you would literally never expect. So what do these three things possibly have in common? I mean, a famous piece of headwear, an entire American state, and one of the deadliest wars in human history. The answer, believe it or not, is tuberculosis. Okay, get ready for this. That iconic American cowboy hat? It was invented by John B. Stetson, who only moved out west in the first place because he had TB, or consumption as they called it. And New Mexico? It got its statehood fast-tracked because the territory actually recruited TB patients from the east to move there and boost its white population. And World War I? The whole thing was kicked off by the assassination of an archduke, an assassination carried out by a group of teenagers who were riddled with tuberculosis. They were willing to die for their cause because, well, they already knew they were dying. This disease has been a secret engine driving our history. But here's what's even more important. It's not just how TB has shaped history, it's how history, and specifically injustice, has shaped TB, basically carving out highways for the disease to travel down. Just look at this map of the old colonial railroads in Sierra Leone. It tells you everything you need to know. See how the lines don't connect towns to other towns? Nope. They connect the places with diamonds and minerals straight to the coast. They were built for one thing and one thing only: extraction. Getting wealth out of the country, not building it up inside the country. And the result of that? After 150 years of this system, the average life expectancy in Sierra Leone was less than 30 years old. This wasn't some random tragedy. It was a direct result of a system designed to leave communities poorer and weaker. And that history, it casts a very long shadow. This is what Henry's mother, Satu, told me about her life. Every bit of money she earned, every bit of work she did, just got whipped away on sickness. The poverty created by these historical systems, well, that becomes the perfect fuel for diseases like tuberculosis to burn through communities today. So, with this horrible disease everywhere, how did people cope? Well, back in 19th century Europe, they did something completely bizarre. They romanticized it. They decided it was beautiful. So on one hand, you had this thing called consumptive chic. Seriously, the actual symptoms of TB, the pale skin, the rosy red cheeks from the fever, the super thin body, the wide glassy eyes, that became the absolute peak of beauty. But the reality? Well, the poet John Keats, who died from it, put it best. He wrote, "We cannot be created for this sort of suffering." I mean, the disconnect between the fantasy and the agonizing reality is just mind-blowing. This whole belief system even had a fancy Latin name, spes phthisica, which means the consumptive spirit. It was this idea that as the disease wasted your body away, your soul would just blossom, that genius and creativity and passion were basically a side effect of the illness. Lord Byron famously said he hoped he would die of consumption because then the women would all say, "See that poor Byron, how interesting he looks in dying." It's absolutely wild. So let's snap back to today. Because while consumptive chic is ancient history, the disease itself is anything but. It's a full-blown modern crisis. 1.25 million. That's how many people tuberculosis killed in 2023 alone. This isn't some historical footnote. It's a global emergency that's happening right now as we speak. And just to put that number into perspective, take a look at this chart. In 2023, TB killed more people than malaria and all of the world's wars combined. For most of human history, this has been our #1 infectious killer. And after a short break during the COVID pandemic, it has officially reclaimed that awful title. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of the problem. A Ugandan doctor named Peter Mugeni said this about HIV/AIDS years ago, but it's just as true for TB today. This is not a problem of science. We have the medicine. This is a problem of justice. It's a problem of distribution. It's a problem of access. And here it is. This might be the single most infuriating fact in this whole story. Tuberculosis is curable, and it has been since the 1950s. For over 70 years, we have had the tools to stop this disease in its tracks. Which leaves us with one final and I think really unavoidable question. This isn't a failure of medicine. It's a failure of will. We know how to create a world without this disease. So why, year after year, do we continue to choose not to?